like many things in life, the summer season will soon pass. Back to school season is here, and for many of us, that brings up a variety of emotions. John Maxwell is quoted as saying, "We cannot control life's difficult moments, but we can choose to make life less difficult. We cannot control the negative atmosphere of the world, but we can control the atmosphere of our minds. Too often we try to choose and control things we cannot. Too seldom we choose to control what we can, our attitude." And here it is. School is back in session. For some of you, others of you are getting ready to start back to school. And I got to ask you this question. What is your attitude? Some things we can't control, but as Mr. Maxwell said, we can choose to control what we can, our attitude. You're going back to school whether you like it or not. Are you going with a positive outlook? Or are you going back in complaining and gathering with the negative teachers and just griping? That's not going to do anything. We just want to encourage you teachers to focus on your attitude as you start this new school year. Very few careers have a beginning starting point like education. So make some New Year's goals and go into this school year with a great attitude. Back to school. Some teachers are looking forward to it. Some teachers are dreading it. How powerful is our outlook when we have a negative or positive attitude as we get ready to start the school year? And we start way back at the beginning line again.
I think attitude is most important as far as the criteria on what's going to happen. Your attitude plus the event will equal the outcome. So if you have a certain attitude set, then whatever happens, that will guide the outcome. For example, I did a talk down at a local senior center, and I said some people approach the process of aging, some with, "Gee, it sure is rough getting old." That's one attitude. The other attitude is, "Thank God I'm still above the grass." Two entirely different approaches each day to the whole process of aging, which everyone is doing, and everyone is learning. But the attitude of how you frame it makes a significant difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And your students are going to be able to pick up on that, which kind of goes into the next point. The old adage, don't smile till Christmas.
Well, that is certainly one approach. And there's some who can smile much earlier. You can smile sometimes. It's an individual process. That's one of the attractions of teaching, is that every teacher in the building is not doing the same thing. And if you and I were teaching ninth grade social studies, we would be teaching the same subject in different ways. And because we have different personalities, we have different attitudes, and therefore the outcome would be different. Your students are different. Your 30 students are different than my 30 students. And even if we did the same thing, the outcome would be different. You will put emphasis in some area that I wouldn't, and vice versa.
In your own value system, would you recommend starting off strict?
I learned more about myself. I think the first year, probably it is healthy to be on the strict side.
Yeah.
But one of the things I learned about myself was that I was building a bond between me and my students. And with some students, there was a need for structure, rigidity, clarity with rules. Other students you could bond very quickly with, and they accepted me as teacher. I wasn't trying to be big friend, big brother or anything.
Exactly.
They understood. Now, some students never understand the teacher role. Even if they've been in school for 9 years, they still don't understand it. And if you happen to have students who do, fine, you can build different relationships. The first year is experimenting. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
There are so many of us who are frightened that if we make a wrong choice, it's going to ruin the rest of our days. And that's not true. It may ruin today, but we get a chance to re-choose again tomorrow.
But those first few days and the first few weeks of school is so critical. And like you said, especially if you are new to teaching or if you're new at the school system, it's always better, in my opinion, to start off strict. And I'm not talking about yelling and flipping the lights or any of that sort of stuff. But
if you're yelling, you've already lost.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't have one type of discipline, one type of control. You do differently. And you have to experiment, which means you're going to mess up. You're going to find some things that don't work. And some people can smile the second week. Some people can't smile for 10 years. Some people never smile.
Yeah, they take it to the extreme.
They should get out of teaching. I think it's so important. If we teach them anything in education, it's learning who they are, what they have to offer, and how they can do it. And to be trusting themselves to experiment and not be so scared to death of making a mistake.
But I understand the nervousness, because once you mess up or make too many mistakes those first 2 weeks, your whole year could be shot, or it's a lot harder to get back on track.
That the second part
of that pressure
it is a lot harder. But the thing is, if you don't ever find out, you'll never know. Once again, you can either start off from a defensive mode, or you can go on an offensive mode, which is, this is part of who I am. And I'm telling you that part of me is, this place is going to be under my control. That's very clear. I'm not going to be defensive about it. I'm not going to be nasty and mean about it. I'm not going to build a big fort to stand behind. Some teachers don't have to be strict, but I do believe that if you're going to be an effective teacher, you need to be fair. If you can't be fair,
that's what students look for.
That's right. Yeah. They want you to be fair. And some teachers need to be strict in order to be fair. Some do not need to be strict, and they can be fair.
From Elena, she says, I just got a position teaching upper elementary. The principal told me the first few weeks should be about building community. Do you know any activities, read alouds, writing prompts, discussions, games, anything that would be great for community building for a fifth grade classroom? I don't know why I'm finding this so difficult. I'm also advised that not to begin teaching content for the first week, although I'm anxious to do so. What sort of classroom jobs and activities would be good for fifth graders in building community? The administrators want this to be discussed on the first day.
Well, if the administrators want to put it on the first day, then I would say, what do you mean by doing? So you might as well ask them, what does building community mean to you? One of the things I've discovered early in teaching is that a principal would say one thing, and I would interpret that word as meaning something entirely different than he or she thought. So I always say, well, what do you mean by it? I'm the one responsible for teaching in my classroom, and you are here to support me to do that job. And if you want me to do something, you'd better be clear about what it is.
Something I think would be more beneficial than going to the principal, because a lot of times I found them to be out of touch and not really, as you say, clear of what they want. They just throw an idea out there. Talk to the other fifth grade teachers and what are they doing that first day of school. And if you can keep it structured to where everybody's kind of building off ideas, and Mr. C is doing this, Mrs. J is doing that, and you just can take some ideas from them. I think that would be very beneficial and building a community among your grade level teachers.
Well, I agree. And being able to share with your peer group is very, very informative and educational.
And community is going to come eventually over time. I mean, that's what lunch is for and recess is for. I mean, that does build community among students. So we hope your first days and first weeks of school definitely are a success.
As you get ready to start the year, and especially if you're a new teacher, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because guess what? You're going to make a lot of them, but that is how you're going to learn. And that applies to your students as well. We'll talk to you again soon.